from a peer-to-peer perspective, we talked a little bit about the crosstalk or stray read elimination. The other thing that is a lot of times forgotten about is if you have, particularly at remote sites, an intermittent network. So let's say you're running on a slow line, an ISDN line, or you're working with handheld readers that are offline. Being able to buffer the reads is very important because a lot of times the software will show the reader going up and down, and you may lose read information if you're not buffering the reads on the reader. So by keeping the reads on the reader and sharing it with your other readers, it creates basically a highly available solution at the site level, because if you store the reads on reader A and reader B, then if reader A goes down and the network is down, you're sort of out of luck. If reader A comes back up, it can send the information. If reader A stays down, reader B could still send reader A's packets. So it gives a level of resilience that you would not otherwise see. So now what I thought I'd do is I'd step through what some of these things look like. So when I talked about visibility and topology, I talked a lot about having a floor plan, and this really is the biggest thing. RFID is all about visibility, and part of that visibility is knowing where you actually deployed RFID. So here, for example, is a floor plan where I have a number of different readers, and now my help desk can very quickly see, hey, dock door 4 is up, it's green, or I have a problem that's yellow, it's poor performance, something like that. And I can search my infrastructure based on what type of reader, what facility it is, whatever it might be. I want to be able to automatically diagnose and resolve problems. So what we do personally is, with the Easy Monitor software, create a decision tree that's customized based on your application. So you say, hey, I want to ask first for power. I secondly want to test the network. And rather than having the operator test the network, we'll automatically ping one reader. We'll automatically then ping all the other readers in the site to see, hey, is this a site-wide network failure? Is this a local network failure? Is it a reader failure? And really get to that root cause of, is it power? Is it network? Is it software? Is it hardware? So when I escalate to level 2, I'm actually escalating for a reason. I'm not going to send a guy across the country or create an unnecessary support call that could have been resolved by something remotely or something as simple as resetting a meter. One of the things that we found very effective is the ability to consolidate your views. So you may want to see both the infrastructure on one particular site, if I have 5 stretch wrappers and 10 conveyors, but you may also want to see a consolidated view where you can take a look site by site and say, hey, I have 40 sites, I have 200 readers. For each site, what does my performance look like? So if I have a global help desk or a global NOC, I can just see on the wall, all of these sites are working. Or hey, I've got a problem in Tuscaloosa, I'm having poor read rates, and it's going to show up in my dashboard. I'm going to get an email automatically, and I can visually see it as well. And be able to then drill in and get detailed performance. A lot of times when you get to level 2, your diagnostics come down to, all right, something's really funky here. The reader seems to be working. I can access it. It seems to intermittently be reading, but you know what I need to do? I need to look at when were the last times reads were reported. So I want to log into the reader, or in this case, the system actually automatically does it for you, but I can see antenna by antenna, hey, you know what, antenna 1 saw reads as recently as a half hour ago, whereas antenna 2 hasn't seen reads for 36 hours. It's probably a good indication that there may be something wrong with the port of the reader, there may be something wrong with the antenna, there may be just sheet metal sitting in front of it. And these are things that, with a little bit more drilling in, your level 2 team can quickly diagnose without having to go on site to do some sort of extra support. From an alerting perspective, we talked about doing customizable alerting. Some of the things that we find that our customers like to alert on are, like we said, no reads within a period of time for a particular antenna. In addition, if a reader is down for more than a particular period of time, the folks who have readers deployed at 40 to 80 locations will have intermittent networks in a lot of places. So if they can't ping a reader for 3 minutes, that may not be so bad. But instead, if they can see a reader within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that's great. So what you want to do is tailor your reports and tailor your information based on what your network looks like and what your overall infrastructure looks like. And then, of course, being able to centralize your firmware management. We talked earlier in the presentation about the quarterly or bi-monthly or annual updates, but being able to essentially know exactly what firmware rev you're on is critical, and then being able to select the readers and update multiple at once is huge. So if we look at some of our customers that have dozens and dozens to hundreds of readers, what they used to do is you would have a guy, and every time there's a firmware update, they would go and one by one they would update the firmware on the readers. For 40 readers, it tends to take about 1 day. So if you've got 400 readers, that tends to be about 2 weeks worth of work for one guy. What you really want to do is select one reader, you hit update, and it updates it, and hopefully it works. I recommend doing that on a lab reader. For example, last week we were updating an alien reader, and there was a specific rev of the firmware, and if you did something very nuanced, it would actually cause the reader to brick or not work at all. So you don't want to apply that kind of fix to all 400 of your readers, because then you've got a massive support problem on your hand. But having a capability where I can select 400 readers after I've proven the firmware works and set it for Sunday night at 2 in the morning and go to bed is a lot more pleasant than spending 2 weeks trying to do something. So what we've done from our software perspective is 2 things. One, focus on the physics, which I think also is in line with what we're doing from an overall perspective. Making sure that your read rates are high, that you can scale the system without having to scale anything more than the RFID infrastructure. You shouldn't need additional servers to support additional readers, because your application workflow should scale in your data center without requiring all kinds of edge computing capability. And a key philosophy there is that read accuracy takes place at the reader, because where you're going to make the decision on whether a read is good or bad and how I want to report that is going to be based on a low latency decision, which is always local. From a support perspective, we want to be as proactive as possible. If we can identify issues by saying, hey, I haven't seen reads on antenna X for Y amount of time, that's a lot better than someone calling up 3 days later and saying RFID just isn't working. So if they do call up, you want to have some sort of diagnostic to get you through to figure out, is it power, network, software, or hardware? And then you want the system to be as resilient as possible. If part of the system goes down, if you can make up for it with other parts of the system, it's all the better. So we don't make any middleware, and it allows us to take a sort of objective approach to the market and deal with the scalability and support issues. So in summary, the problem of RFID is unique because you're dealing with effectively servers in places they were never meant to be. So because you're dealing with servers in places they've never meant to be, you need unique sorts of monitoring. The other problem is you are creating an invisible technology. The beauty of RFID is you can do things passively and detect them, but by doing things passively, like moving things through a portal or moving things through a tunnel and not seeing them, it creates a very difficult problem detecting and resolving problems. So you need to add visibility to your system as much as possible. And tools like Easy Monitor and Easy Reader allow you to automatically do some of these things that you could otherwise do manually. So that's it. Thank you.